Hello, welcome, Limitless Live. Here we are. We're back again. Tuesday morning, afternoon, 12:30 East Coast time, 9:30 Pacific time. A couple quick news and notes. First of all, JoshuaLifrak here, Director of Performance and Coaching at Limitless Minds. I'm coming to you today. Hello, Martin. What's going on? What's happening? We're going to dive into a section of our content called energy management, and we're going to discuss that a lot today. We're going to dive into that, but just kind of some news and notes and just some note-keeping stuff. Limitless Lives are going to shift to Tuesdays only at this point. So if you're a big fan of ours and you like showing up and you like interacting and things like that, Tuesdays, 12:30 to 1. We've kind of shrunk the amount of times we're going to be on. We will have special guests from time to time and probably going to do those on Fridays. But right now, for the time being, we're going to stick with Tuesdays, 12:30 to 1 East Coast time, 9:30 to 10 Pacific Standard Time. And then if you're in Arizona, I have no clue what time it is because they just make up their own time there. So anyway, that being said, we're going to dive in today. And we're going to talk about a little bit about energy management. What is this thing called energy management, and why does it matter for performance? A lot of people in the sports world and in the athletic environment, they'll often reference this thing called the inverted U, right? And the inverted U is all about, hey, where my energy levels are at with what are the requirements of the performance I'm involved in. And as my energy rises to the needs of the performance, oftentimes my performance level will increase as well. And I think that's a very interesting model. I think there's some validity to it. The big question, though, is kind of really taking into the situation part of this. We often talk about, having your attitude dictate the situation versus your situation dictating your attitude, right? Have your attitude dictate the situation versus the situation dictating your attitude. However, sometimes we have to match the energy that the situation requires. I'll give you an example. If I'm attempting to make a 15-foot putt that has a right-handed break to it, I have to be pretty precise with the movements in my body and with how hard I hit the putt, with the tension that I put into my muscles, with the energy that I'm exerting. I have to kind of be a little bit more calm, a little bit more serene. On a scale of like 1 to 10, maybe to hit that putt, I need to be at a 3 or a 4. And I need to be really locked in and really precise. And my fine motor function has to be the thing that is really driving the performance. If I am at like a 9 or a 10, and I try and make that, think about that. What's a 9 or a 10? That's like, woo! Red Bull, Mountain Dew, I'm going to come at you like a spider monkey chip, right? Like energy galore. If I'm like that, and I go and I try and make that putt, I'm like, woo! Wah! No chance I'm making that putt. No chance, right? So my energy has to match the performance, what the performance requires. Now, on the flip side, if I'm trying to bench press my personal best, right? I got tons of weight on it. Maybe it's like 300 pounds. I don't even know, right? I don't bench press a ton. I use the machines. I'm an old guy. I do the elliptical. I do the machines versus real bars and stuff like that. So, but if I'm trying to bench press something up like a huge amount of weight, I don't want to be calm. Yeah, man, I'm gonna go get this bench press. Oh, yeah, so good, right? Like, I don't want to be at a 2 or a 3. I want to be at that other end, that 9 or 10. I want to have that. I want to have that fight. I want to have that energy. I want to have that fire going, again, to match what the performance requires. Those are the two extremes, right? Think about like darts. That's another one. Like, you want to be kind of chill. You want to be easy, right? Maybe, even it's funny because you think about like MMA and guys are like, they're kind of getting hyped, but they're really like, they're at a different level. They're not like that 9 or 10, because if they're at that 9 or 10, guess what's going to happen to them? Swing, pop, done, right? Same kind of thing. So you have to match the energy to the performance requirements. So there's a couple ways you can figure this out for yourself. You think about whatever your performance is. Maybe we're talking about the corporate setting. Maybe it's going into a big sales meeting. Maybe it's presenting to a board. Maybe whatever it might be. And you want to think back to the absolute best performances you've had in those environments in the past. And then think about, where was my energy during that time? Was my energy at like a 9? Was it at a 7? Was it at a 6? Was it at a 5? And you got to kind of figure that out for yourself based on what you did and your own kind of scale. That's the other piece of it. What is my scale is probably different from Martin's scale. Martin's scale might be different from Travis's scale. Travis's scale might be different from Krista's scale, right? And so we have to know on our own scales what a 1 is and what a 10 is. What does that feel like? What are the emotions going on? What's my heart rate feel like? Okay, so that's number one. It's making sure that my energy level matches to the situation, and I know what energy level I need to be at in order to be highly successful. This is really funny because for me, it was when I was an intern. I was a 30-year-old intern at IMG Academy. And I was from New York City. I was living in Manhattan at the time, and I, moved down to Bradenton, Florida to do the internship. And I had that New York energy, that in your face, I don't freaking care. You're in my way. You're going to get out of my way, or else there's going to be a problem. That's kind of how I was, right? Where's my coffee? I needed my coffee. How come my coffee's not here? It's not hot enough. Let's make the hot coffee hotter. That was my energy when I first got down there. And one of my mentors, along with Trevor Moad and Chad Bowling, and was a woman named Carrie Benson. Carrie is awesome. Her and I have an amazing relationship. But I was loud. I would step into a room and everybody would know I was there. I brought that New York intensity to every day. And she pulled me aside one day and she said, you got to recognize when to use your loud voice and when to use your quiet voice. There's a difference between indoors and outdoors here in Florida. And so you got to kind of figure that out. And it was a great kind of acknowledgement for me to recognize that different situations require different energy. And so if I'm working with the golfers, I'm not screaming and yelling. I was kind of a little bit more buttoned up. I was a little bit more relaxed. I was a little calmer. If I was working with the basketball players, man, I'd be a little bit more hype. Working with football players, you got to get a little bit more hype, right? So you got to kind of match the energy of the room. I think you flip this over to, again, the corporate world, and who else is in the room, and what kind of energy are they requiring to be heard? What kind of energy do you need to bring to that situation in order for your voice to be heard? If I'm screaming and yelling and I'm like all over the place, that probably doesn't work for a lot of people. If I'm in front of 6,500 people or 10,000 people in an audience, maybe I got to be a little bit louder. But one of the things in terms of even that is what we've learned through trial and error is there's moments to raise the energy in a performance and there's moments to soften the energy. And a lot of times that variance and that up and down scale within even a performance can draw people in because they're wait, something changed. Why is he talking soft? I better listen really, really closely. This must be very important. Oh, why is he getting really loud right now? Wow, and kind of back and forth there. So that's another way to just kind of figure out, hey, let me read the audience. This is something we talk about in Limitless Minds all the time. Talk about our energy. Read the audience. What does the audience need right now? There's 10 people in a small boardroom, and we're there to coach and work with them versus presenting at them. Well, that's a different energy than me being the star of the show and being in the entertainment mode, right? So you kind of have to figure that out as well. What does the situation require for your energy? How do you figure that out? Good emotional intelligence. You read the room, right? The other thing is the meaning. And I think this is a big key in terms of energy management. I don't think a lot of people talk about it enough. But there's times where you're going to decide what something means before you walk into the room. And we do this all the time. Our first thing that we ever do in a lab Yeah, exactly, Martin, right? Meeting in person or virtually with cameras on is so key to be able to read the audience. Without a doubt, one of the things that we do all the time is we are going to have people flip on their cameras as soon as we do a lab. And for those that don't, we recognize, hey, maybe they got something else going on, and we'll just kind of let them be. And if they want to chime in, they can. But being able to read and understand your audience by visually seeing them, absolutely. The other thing that I recognize pretty quickly, too, is if we're on Zoom, we're in a virtual situation, and I got a lot of cameras off, I'm not going to make it mean something. Here's the key. We were just talking about this. What do you make things mean? This is a great way to control your energy. Think about it. If I go into a virtual Zoom room and all the cameras are off, I just got names. I don't even have like pictures. I just got names on the screen. iPhone 37, right? And if I make that mean they don't care, or if I make that mean this isn't going well, what's going to happen to my energy? Well, what's going to happen to my energy is it's probably going to diminish. I'm probably going to have some negativity coming in my way. Negativity is its own energy. That's going to project out, and the spiral continues. We, as presenters, are always being the model. So if I go into a room and there's no cameras on, there's nothing on, there's definitely going to be a moment where I'm like, oof, this is going to be a challenge. But we have the chat room. We have the ability to send them to breakout rooms. We have the ability to present in an entertaining, fun way. We could tell different stories to illustrate points. And there's ways to interact. You know, we've done webinars where we couldn't interact with anybody. And you find a way to make it interactive, even if you're not getting the feedback. You have to have that faith and that trust that what you're saying is landing and is resonating. So the energy that you bring is totally on you, right? This is one of those things we talk about, control the controllables. So energy is completely in your control. It starts with what you're making things mean. It starts with that, who you're being. We talk about this all the time in Limitless Minds, being, doing, and having. Most people think about accomplishment, and they think about, this is what I want to become. I want to become a great speaker. I want to become a President's Circle sales member. I want to become this thing over here. And they think it comes after what they do and then what they have. I'm going to do all these great things, and I'm going to make sure that they are, these great things are being done, i.e. maybe my extra sales calls, all this extra stuff, right? Then I'm going to have all these sales, and then I'm going to become this President's Circle salesperson. But think about that from the energy's perspective. That's like it's almost like forced. I have to do these things. I have to do these things over have to versus get to. When you shift that into, I get to be something. I'm going to take that B and I'm going to stick it over here. I'm going to be a President's Circle sales representative. I'm going to go crush it. I want to be one of the best in our corporation, our organization this year. Well, now, once you've decided that, what you're going to do wants to line up with that. Here I am being. So all these little things that I'm going to do, make those extra calls. Yeah, have that energy and positivity, have that belief. That's what President's Circle people do, right? Success leaves clues. So I'm going to be this, then I'm going to do this, and guess what? Then I'm going to have this over here. So the being really matters to your energy, because when you set that intention and you decide who you're going to be every day, then the actions are just going to follow. So again, when we talk about energy management, one of the best things you can do is have that decision early on. Who am I going to be today? Okay, quick question for anybody that is on the chat right now. Anybody that's on the chat. When do you decide who you want to be? Is it right in the morning when you wake up? Right? I do it. I've mentioned this before. Every morning I live on a little island, and I take my dog for a walk every single morning, usually before the sunrise. We go over the bridge onto the mainland, and as we go over the bridge, right, he does his business. He's got a very specific lawn that he likes to visit, and we turn around and we come back, and as soon as I get to the bridge, coming back towards my house, I set my intention for the day. And I decide who I'm going to be. I'm going to be energized. I'm going to be passionate. I'm going to be loving. I'm going to be caring, whatever it might be. I'm going to be productive, right? And I set that intention on the bridge. So here's my question to you. And then there's other times, like I was jumping on this live today, right? And I know, hey, I'm alone. I'm out here and we're going to spit fire today. And I know coming into that, I have to be a certain way. So the 2 minutes before I got onto this live, I decided who I was going to be. Energized, excited, fun, entertaining, right? All those different pieces. Really what I wanted to be was a resource. I wanted to be a resource. I wanted to bring value. So I wanted to be a resource today. Okay, so anybody who's on the chat, please just jump in the chat really quickly and just type in, when do you set your intentions? It could be before every meeting. Could be before you get in the car. Could be before you come home. Could be before you flip open your laptop. Just decide right now, type it in. Interested to hear. We'll see what we get. So that's the next thing, right? Number one, know what the situation, what kind of energy you need to bring to the situation, and then know which kind of energy works the best for you. Number two, decide on your meeting. Decide who you're going to be before you step into any performance situation. Who are you going to be? That's going to matter. Kobe Bryant, what did Kobe Bryant decide he was going to be before he went out into the basketball court? He decided he was going to be the Black Mamba. And the Mamba does what the Mamba does, right? Beautiful. Morning Bible study at the end of the morning run. We got a couple people putting in there, right? Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen, for jumping in and typing those pieces. So those are the two big factors that we talked about. Third and the last factor, right? There's a physiological component to energy. We kind of joked about it earlier when I said, drinking the Mountain Dew and coming at you like a spider monkey chip, right? So certainly caffeine and energy drinks, the C4 that is Celsius is out there, whatever they are, right? I personally don't partake in anything outside of a really good espresso every once in a while and a morning coffee. Those kind of energy are oftentimes artificial. They are going to come from the outside, and when you start relying on them, it becomes a little bit of a challenge to get the energy right. Now, I'm a morning coffee guy. I love my morning coffee. It's part of my routine. There's something meditative about making it and drinking it. It kind of gets me grounded. Again, it's part of my routine. But I rarely have that second cup. Unless I'm feeling like I had a horrible night's sleep and I know I got some bigger stuff in the afternoon that I got to be up for, okay? Or that I got to be locked in for. That being said, there are other ways that you could do it without stimulants from the outside. One of the easiest ways is through your breath work, okay? So physiologically, here we are, and we've taught this to athletes throughout the years, but if I'm feeling like I need to get a little bit more up and I need to get a little bit more vibrant and I need to get a little bit more energized, well, I'm going to breathe a little faster, right? Just maybe clapping, yeah, maybe yelling out loud, maybe saying an affirmation or two to myself while I pound my chest. That can raise my energy. Okay, those are all physiological and they're all internal, and I'm deciding and I'm in control of them versus hoping this coffee has enough caffeine or hoping the Red Bull that I got, does the trick, right? That's hope. Hope is rooted in desperation a lot of the times. So we like to take control of our own situation. So physiologically, if I need to get up, boom, there's methods to do that. Flip side, and this is where we find most of the work, I need to come down a little bit. I recognize I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm at an 8 or a 9 or a 10, and I need to lower my energy and get to a 6 or 7, right? Because that's what the situation is requiring from me, right? I remember this vividly. I was going to interview for the Chicago Cubs director of their mental skills program. I was a senior mental conditioning person at IMG Academy. I had flown up. I had gotten up at 3 a.m., gotten an Uber up to Tampa, flew from Tampa to Chicago, interviewed at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, got back in the Uber, got into another flight, and flew home, right? That was my day. And the fact of the matter is, here I was, and I was kind of gassed, but I was like, energized too, because I knew what this meant. This was an opportunity to join an organization in 2014 that was trying to do something that would change the world. I was trying to join the Chicago Cubs, and I was trying to help them win a World Series. And so my energy levels were all over the place that day. And one of the things that I did was, before I went into that interview, was I took 5 minutes and I closed my eyes. I found a nice quiet bench outside of Wrigley, outside of the offices, and I closed my eyes and I just breathed. And that can be really, really, really affirming to manage your energy levels. Just the act of closing your eyes and focusing on your breath. What I do is, when I do my breath work and my meditation, I really focus on the sensations of the breath, right? Because when I'm focused on the sensations of the breath, I'm not focused on all the other stuff that's going on in my mind. So I'll feel the air tickling my nostrils and coming in. I'll follow the air all the way down my throat, into my lungs and into my chest. And then as I exhale with as little sound as possible. Because when you exhale with a little sound, you quiet your mind, you quiet your breath. And I pay attention to how the breath feels when it's coming out of my mouth. So in through the nose, light and quiet, feeling the nostrils, out through my into my lungs, filling up my chest, out through my mouth, feeling the air pass by my lips. So when you do that, and you can do that, you can count to 10 breaths if you want to do that. You can do the box breathings. You can do inhale loud, exhale no sound. You can do set your watch for 2 minutes, right? I kind of like doing that better, where you set a stopwatch for 2 to 3 to 5 minutes, and you make sure you hit go on it, so you know it's going to stop, right? So the countdown goes. And then when you do that, you can just really focus on the feeling and the sensations and the noticing of your breath. And what that noticing does is that allows you to actually notice your heart rate and bring your heart rate down. It allows you to control your breath. And again, once we take control, we're controlling the controllables, then we can execute at a high level of performance. So those are the 3 main factors. Number 1, matching your energy level to the situation, and then knowing what energy level is best for you in that situation. Number 2, making the meaning, making sure that you are deciding what this thing means in your own mind, and you're deciding who you want to be. And then number 3, use your breath, use the physiology of humanity in order to get yourself to the right energy level for the performance that's at hand. Okay, a couple questions in the chat. What if you're up, but your audience is down? What if you're up, but your audience is down, right? Attitudes are contagious, Martin. So one of the things is, we want to be the change that we wish to see in the world. So our audience is down. They're not great. They're kind of like flatlined, whatever. That should not dictate how I want to be. Now, if they're down and we know that we want to have great energy and that's what's required in order to get this stuff done, boom, let's go. Is there something else going on? Maybe, right? But the reality of the situation is, this is where they are and this is where I am. And so what you have to do then is to stimulate their energy. In other words, if I'm talking at a group, there's no way their energy is going to change. If I'm talking with a group, if I'm having that group be active and get engaged, their energy will change. So that's one of the big things. Don't talk at, talk with. Get in there with them, have them do activities, challenge them, have them do quizzes, etc. And if they're still flat, then you know you've controlled everything that you control, and there's probably something else going on. And good luck. They probably do need mental performance training if they're going to be that way, right? Because your attitude is completely in your control, and your attitudes are contagious. So making sure that you know that. Dan kind of wrote back to you, said you have to meet people where they are and go from there. I completely agree with you on that, Dan. Is like, figure out where they are and then figure out what they need, right? Don't give them what they want, give them what they need. That's our role as performance coaches, is to help them elevate themselves. Help them elevate themselves. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions or anything else before we wrap up and put a bow on this puppy? Looks like that's a negatory. That's about a negative. It's a no. Not a problem. I really appreciate Dan, Hubert, Martin for jumping on today. type of stuff in the chat. We love it when we can converse and connect. Manage your energy, right? Manage your energy. There's lots of different ways to do it. Again, it's 100% in our own control, so control it. And when you control it, then you have a better chance of performing at a high level. Trevor Moawad always used to talk about lottery tickets. And we would talk to the athletes about this in terms of, hey, okay, here we are as an athlete. And if I attend to my physical conditioning and I attend to my nutrition and I attend to my recovery and I attend to the technical and tactical stuff, I go through my game plans, I do the checks and balances. And if I really attend to my mental conditioning, all that does is gives me a bunch of lottery tickets that gives me a chance to be successful. There are no guarantees. So again, managing your energy, it just increases your lottery tickets and it increases the chance that you'll be successful. Thanks everybody so much for being here today. Rock and roll. We will see you next Tuesday.